So, hey, I've been waiting for this one for you, buddy. Tennessee hosting South Carolina this weekend in Neyland Stadium. It's going to be another nooner for these two, but historically they've played things close year in and year out. Doesn't seem to matter who the coaches are. Obviously, the players changing over left and right, but I was going back and watching this Troy game this morning, and man, I'm disturbed because South Carolina, it's almost like LSU. They have no faith in their offensive line. They can't run it up the middle. They can't run it in between the tackles. And this is Troy they're playing. I mean, this ain't Alabama or Georgia they're playing. Damn near every run they have is a sweep or a reverse or some kind of thing to go on the outside just because their line is just not holding up against anybody. And then here you got Tennessee, one of the better run defenses in the SEC, so that doesn't necessarily bode well for the Gamecocks, but they do lead the SEC in 14 forced turnovers, and that'll be critical to this game going on the road and trying to get their first road SEC win. But let me ask you this, Shane, because this is something Shane Beamer was asked about today during his press conference, but obviously with Josh Heupel and Shane Beamer both being in their first years, they've been going head-to-head on the recruiting trail quite a bit. They've been going head-to-head on the transfer portal recruiting quite a bit. So, the first game, I'm not saying it's like going to make or break either program, but I think there's a lot on the line for both of these to kind of be able to prove to everybody that, hey, look, we are further along than them. And I think that's going to be vital for their success on the recruiting trail this week. Do you buy into that?
No, I'm with you, Mike, and I'll tell you, it feels like a tale of two programs right now. I don't think at this point, here we are, October 5th, you're listening to this on the 6th. At this point, I don't think momentum has been higher than it is in Knoxville for many, many years, brother. I'm telling you, the hype train is real. These guys are excited that the offense finally has found their identity. They're moving the ball. South Carolina on the other side of the game, I think they need a major rebound or they are going to spiral. They're on the verge. They barely won this damn Troy game. They should have lost it 2 or 3 times the way they were playing and just giving the ball away. So that part has me worried, especially with a young Coach Beamer here, that if these guys lose and lose ugly, it wouldn't surprise me if South Carolina loses out. I don't know. I don't have their schedule ahead of me, but it feels like the morale's going in the wrong direction. Now, it's big for Tennessee. Because, I feel like we secured a bowl game beating Missouri last week. But like I said, it's all about the offense. So when you look at these two programs, a lot of people don't think about South Carolina's defense, but South Carolina's got a nasty little defense at times. Right. I don't know how many defensive touchdowns they got, but it's got to be close to the top. These guys will capitalize if you make a mistake. So that's their best shot, is getting Hooker rattled. Yeah, that should be on the front page.
We talked about that all last week with the Missouri-Tennessee game. That was the one that each of those teams needed to make that potential postseason bowl. But this is a game where you lose all that momentum, kind of like you're saying. Because this is one where you're looking at the schedule, you're counting it as a win if you're Tennessee because you're at home, because it's a South Carolina program that's in rebuilding mode. And you stand to lose all that momentum if you drop this one. So there's pressure, I think, on the Vols. But let me ask you this, because this is something that I hit on the last episode as well. We're seeing the effect of home field advantage and the value of it. And I'm not sure we're going to get that from the Tennessee faithful. I know there's going to be plenty of fans show up, but it isn't, like I said, it's a noon game. It's South Carolina. What was the biggest home game so far for Tennessee? Pitt. I don't want to say they laid an egg, but of course they lost that game, and I don't think it was a sellout. I think it was a pretty nice stadium. But what are you anticipating from Vol Nation? Because like you said, they're buzzed, they're feeling good. I think Tennessee really, really, really needs the fans to show up in full force. Because like I said, the South Carolina, Tennessee are historically very, very close, and the home field advantage could be the difference in this ball game. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it was a deflated program, Mike. When we lost to the Gators, it's always seemed like a downer right after that one. It just takes a little while for us to rebound. But I told you the fact we were able to hang with them for so long helped us going into this week and just building confidence with this young team. They continue to do that in Mizzou. These kids are having fun. I'm telling you, these fans are having fun. I mean, have you ever been you probably never been caught up in a Twitter war with the University of Tennessee, and if you haven't, I mean, I'm telling you, these guys are excited. So I don't think crowd noise is going to be a problem at all. In fact, I think the university is even trying to orchestrate some additional crowd noise, bringing out the black jerseys and making this thing a bigger deal than it probably looks like on paper. So, yeah, I think we're going to be fine here as far as crowd noise. But like you said, I will say, Mike, it has been – I mean, look at the Kentucky-Florida game. If we played this game in 2020, Florida would have won that game. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the crowd noise was involved, I'm not expecting Neyland to get that rowdy, but they could. I'm telling you, a lot of things happen when you score 50 points. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I'm not rolling it out. So this is going to be a really tough ball game, and a lot is on the line for both of these programs.
Yeah, and one area we have not yet mentioned, Shane, the special teams. South Carolina special teams has been playing some really good football here lately. And Tennessee, they started strong, but they've been making mistakes left and right in special teams the last couple of weeks. Of course, you know, it's 2 games ago. What do they have? Like 9 players on the field for, I guess, Florida at one point. And so I don't know. That is Beamer ball. I mean, I really do believe that's a thing. So South Carolina could potentially have the edge on the special teams, and that's how you go on the road and steal a game is by making big plays in special teams.
I'll tell you, Mike, I haven't heard a lot of name, image, likeness stories coming out of South Carolina, but if anybody deserves a house, it's Parker White. I mean, this kid is automatic. So, right, if this thing came down to a field goal, I'd give them a nod. No, not even close.
Mm-hmm. And when you look back at the offense the past 5 weeks, the running game really started to break loose in the second half last week, but particularly with the inside zone, runs up the middle, just what has been the problem there about trying to get that on track early and getting it on track for good?
Yeah, certainly we have to be able to do that. You know, against Kentucky, there's a 380-pound nose tackle that is hard to move. That would be one thing with them. Troy built a little bit differently, and you know, a couple times on some zone plays, their linebackers do a great job of Troy's, fitting it and coming off when they say a double team coming off, and we got to be better with our eyes and coming off the second level of blocks. And really, David, it's sustaining blocks and just finishing plays and straining to finish and keep your head in the right hat placement and not give up a gap and things like that. So, you know, every week is different, and like I've been saying with the run game all along, it's a combination of things, whether you're running counter schemes, gap schemes, outside zone, inside zone, pin and pull. You know, it's a host of things, and running the ball inside and up the middle is no different. But we got, you know, Vershawn Lee was our player of the game, talented guard. Eric Douglas is a leader on this offense at center. Javon Gwynn's leader of this offense at guard, and you know we trust those guys on the interior. We've got to be able to run the ball downhill and move people, but also put together a scheme each week that gives those young men a chance to be successful.
Shane, with you and Coach Heupel coming in the same offseason and both programs apparently coming off a similar 2020, there's probably going to be a lot of comparisons of the two programs, not just this year, but in the next few years. You think that's a fair comparison?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you guys, that's better for you guys, but certainly similar programs. You know, both didn't have years last year that they wanted to have. Both programs were, you know, affected by attrition, people leaving the transfer portal. Obviously, they've got 2 guys that would be on their offense right now that are playing at Oklahoma, and they've got 1 guy on their defense that's starting at Alabama, I guess, and the same could be said for us with some people that left this program. We've certainly been aided by additions to our program from the transfer portal, and so have they. I mean, they lost some good players in it, but man, they've added some really good players as well. So it's probably a fair comparison, but I'm sure Coach Heupel would say the same thing that I'm saying. I mean, I'm not worried about competing necessarily with Tennessee 365 days a year. We're trying to do what we can do to make our program the very best that it can be day in, day out. And we're all chasing the same goal, and that's to be playing in Atlanta one day for the SEC championship. And they're working hard just like we are to get that done.
Looking at South Carolina, what are some of the challenges they do offensively and defensively for you guys?
On the defensive side of the football, they've been really good up front. They've created turnovers. They attack the football. We got to do a great job of taking care of it the last 2 weeks. That's been really important, done a good job. There's things that we've pointed out on film where the ball is loose, and you got to be ready for a defender to be there, and we can be more consistent, better with the football in our hands. Offensively, we got to do a great job of dominating the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to be critical in this football game, force them into third and long situations, and then be able to play really good third down defense. And then that can be, base 4 down, or it can be bringing pressure, or it can be drop 8 too. I didn't think we executed early in the football game the way we're capable of on third down.
Just what have you seen from Hendon over the last couple of games? Seems like he's really starting to hit a stride, both from an efficiency standpoint and taking care of the football.
Has been better taking care of the football with the ball in his hands. Some of our meshes have been better, more consistent. I think that happens as you get more time on task together with the same guys. I think as much as anything, great comfort and understanding of what we're doing, the tempo. He's been really in control of what's going on at the line of scrimmage. Been really good with his eyes, and that's allowed him to be really decisive with the football. Was extremely accurate the other day. A lot of that stems from eyes in the right place, seeing things really clearly that allows you to get your body in the right spot.
Coach, I'm not an NFL scout, but you probably don't have the most talented front seven in this league, but the run numbers have been really good, with the exception of Florida. Can you just talk about the job Coach Banks is doing and how you guys are getting that done?
Yeah, defensive staff has done a phenomenal job, starting with Coach Banks. His ability to get buy-in from his players, trust from his players is where everything starts in the whole process. But then his ability to be multiple, with what we're doing on all 3 levels of the defense, from front to the alignments in the second level to our coverages on the third level, and being able to incorporate it and teach it in a way where kids understand it and can reason it out as things change with what the pictures you're seeing on the offensive side of the football. Sounds easy, it's really difficult. The ability of all of our coaches to be great teachers and to allow our players to understand the fundamentals and technique that we want to play with. It's a unique group over there on the defense side of the ball. They've done a phenomenal job, starting with Coach Banks, but to the assistant coaches as well.